Onegaishimasu. Namaste. Please stand up. Separate your feet a little further than hips distance. Start to lift and spread your toes, lift and spread your toes. Just shake out your hands first. Raise your arms up. Shake everything down. Now as you shift your weight, you're going to take knee towards toes, knee towards toes. You're aiming for ears over shoulders over hips. And let your arms move because the rest of your body's moving. And really try to lift and spread your toes, pressing down the inside edge of your foot, flaring out the pinky toe as far out to the side as you can, really trying to grab the ground underneath you. Creating that conversation of support. And then just let your arms move because you're moving from your center. Just trusting that they are connected. We're turning out from your hip, shifting knee towards toes, knee towards toes. So I've got my toes, the center of my knee, and my hip point all in one line, the same direction that I'm looking. And again, shake out your arms. You're going to lift heart space forward, let your shoulder blades drip down your back. Turn that front leg in parallel, shift your weight back to the back leg, and then turn. Pivot with that front foot, shift towards the knee and foot. Check in with your shoulders one more time. Make sure you're not holding on. And if you are, don't judge it. Just see if you can soften and allow it to let go a little bit more. And try to find some balance and rhythm between the breath. Shift your weight forward, shift back, knee towards toes, right? You can turn that front foot as you shift your weight back into the knee, and then turn out with the front foot to pivot. See if you can find a flow and a balance with it. Shift your weight back, pivot, forward, back, pivot, forward, back, pivot, forward, back, pivot. And then just hang in this center beginning space for a second. Double check that you've got ears over shoulders over hips. Maybe bend your knees one more place and sink a little bit deeper. And then shake everything out. Even let your knees and ankles bounce a little bit. All right. Now taking 2 fists between your knees, you're going to use this alignment to lift and spread your toes, grab the ground underneath you, and then to wake up all of the thigh muscles, you're going to press the hands into the outside edges of the fists right here on the pinky side and really squeeze your legs together, and then turn the inside of your inner thighs in, outer thighs out. It's going to feel like you're sitting back a little bit more, keeping all of that action in your legs. Hug your belly to your spine. This is going to protect your low back. Bend your knees one more place, bring your arms out in front. Inhale, raise up, keeping all of that connection with your legs, really magnetically sinking into the ground right here. Bend your knees with your arms raised. Grab one hand onto opposite elbow, and as you start to stand back up, shift away from the arm that's raised. Try to keep equal weight in both feet. Inhale back to center. Sink down one more time. Switch out your grip. Inhale, raise up. And exhale to the side. Inhale, come back to center. Bend your knees. Lower your hands all the way to the ground. And then from here, you can pedal your feet out. I'm just switching directions so that you can see what I'm doing. From here, I'm going to lower my head and my shoulders down, but not necessarily put my heels down yet. I want to get a little further into stretching to just get comfortable with this position first. So rotate both ankles to the side, press your shoulders back and your hips to the side, roll through center, go to the other side. Good, then stop through center, bend your knees, look forward, shift forward and lower down. Inhale, raise up. Come up to hands and knees, lift your knees up first, press head down, hips back. Bend your knees just a little bit, look forward, shift forward, lower down. Inhale up. Up to hands and knees, lift your knees up one more time. Head down, hips up, take your heels a little bit closer to the ground. Good, now look forward, shift forward, bring one knee into your chest, drop it down right in front. So from the front view, this is gonna have a little bit of a cross towards the other hip. And this is not, there's like no judgment on how deep or how far away your heel is from your hips. You really want to just try to protect the joint. And from here, we're going to just surrender the weight of our chest down. Try to get a bigger outer hip stretch. If you want to put your elbows down, you can. And then just kind of wake up that thigh and that hip area. Just kind of rolling into it just a little bit. Walk your hands all the way back up. Now from here, try to walk the back leg back just a little bit. Sit up straight, one more big deep breath. Then lower your torso down, drag your hands all the way next to the thighs and lift up the chest and the leg at the same time. Then take it back behind you, kick it out. Bend at the knee, look out underneath your arm. Drop it down. Look forward, shift forward, bring the other knee forward, drop it down in front. Surrender the weight of your chest down. If you want to put your elbows down, you can. And then walk your hands back, sit up straight, walk your back leg back just a little bit more. And then drop your torso down, frame your leg with your hands and push everything, knee and torso up. Bring the leg back, kick it out, bend at the knee, look out underneath your arm. Bring that leg down, pedal your feet out one more time. And then this time you're gonna bring the other leg forward, kick it out straight underneath you, and then drop this hip down. Now this is gonna be kind of like a muscle friction ironing effect over this whole outside of your hip. So I'm gonna turn around, switch directions so that you can see me, right? So I've got one leg going straight back, one leg going to the side, and I'm going to turn my shoulders towards the ground, and then I'll roll my chest forward and back over that hip. Right, so I'm trying to use my body weight to create friction. And if you feel any places where it's really intense, slow down and be gentle. Do not force yourself past a place where you can breathe into it and find a little bit more allowance and movement. It's really not in your highest benefit to push past that. To switch sides, turn to where you can see both feet. Again, I'm rotating so you can keep seeing me. All right, turn to where you can see both feet and then keep turning. Again, one more time. Onto the other hip. Lift the back leg up and then roll on the outside of that hip. Okay, from here, to get out of this, lower your chest all the way down, lift your hips up into the air, drag that foot underneath you, kick it all the way out and back, drop it down. Okay? From here, lower your knees down, walk your hands out in front, surrender the weight of your chest down, And walk your hands all the way to one side. Press your hands and hips away from each other. And then walk all the way to the other side. Come back to center. All right. Now just bring your legs out in front. And 4. Whew. All right, so we're gonna do a little bit more work on the hips for today. So drag your hands behind you and then pull your feet a little bit closer to your hips. From here, the very first thing, I'm gonna keep my ankles further than hip distance. Let both knees drop to the same side. All right, from here, you're gonna wanna be able to walk your hands forward towards the front foot that's right along your center line. Walk your hands out. As soon as you start feeling anything in the outside of your leg, just stop and breathe. If you can go a little bit further down. Okay, walk your hands back up. Start to turn towards the outside of that front knee. Take one hand all the way behind you. The other hand is going to go to the outside of this knee to help you lift in your lowest belly, raise up your floating ribs, and turn and look over your shoulder. Now from here, walk your hands forward. You're going to start getting a little bit more of a stretch on the back leg and the back hip and your low back on this side. Press your hands and your hips away from each other, and you're going to start to bring that stretch further up your back. And then walk your hands all the way up. Okay? Go all the way towards facing that front leg, and then keep going to the other side. This time you're going to take that second hand, put it on the outside of the knee, lift and turn, lift and twist in your spine. Look out over your back shoulder. A little bit awkward to go towards the leg over here, but just go right to the edge, even if that helps get a mid back, like upper back right here. It might help you get a little bit of a mid back stretch. And just kind of be curious with it, but stop right before it starts to be more than you want to know about, right? So the conversations in the connective tissue and in the body give you messages. And if you start feeling like you're almost going to a point where the flexibility just isn't there, or definitely a point of pain, please come back and give yourself a little bit of a cushion before you get all the way to that edge. Being able to notice and then give yourself a position where it's going to be therapeutic amount of pressure and not something that you're like forcing yourself into, is really learning how to communicate and navigate what you're actually feeling, right? So from here, to get on the other side, lift up both knees, pass through center, drop onto the other side. Okay, again, I'm turning just so you can see me. Now from here, go forward towards the front foot first. Notice I'm trying to keep my toes flexed here. You want to try to make your breaths very even on the inhale and the exhale. If you inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth, you might find a little bit more surrender, getting some oxygen moving through all the connective tissue. Then walk your hands back up. Take one hand to the outside of the back of your hip. I'll take the other hand to the back of your knee. lift and straighten your spine, ear over shoulder over hip. Twist in your spine and look out over the back shoulder. And walk your hands forward. And again, press your hands and hips away from each other. Walk your hands all the way back up, sit up straight, and go through center to the other leg. One hand behind you, one hand on the front of your calf. Lift and turn, look out over the back shoulder. Again, it's not the most difficult, or not the easiest to be able to lean forward towards this leg, but I'm just surrendering my weight just a little bit until I hit the edge, and just kind of taking a breath here just to acknowledge the space and this side of my back. Walk your hands all the way in front. Now from here, I'm going to put both of my hands behind my hips, lift both knees up, and just try to center my hips between both legs. All right, so from here, lift your hips up. Bring one knee up, cross the knee, cross the foot so that you have ankle behind your knee. And then from here, just rock your hips from side to side. This is definitely one of those positions, if you start feeling any discomfort, slow down, approach it with grace. Do not push past your edge. Breathe into it even more. So we're going to rock onto the hip of the leg that's bent, a little bit more so than on the hip with the foot down, and just try to rotate your hip in a circle. Try to get a little bit further into getting some blood flow into all the hip flexors and the glutes, and then switch direction. Really trying to use your body weight to create that friction for you. All right, so now press your foot and your hands down into the ground. Lift your hip up, kick that leg up, drop it down, and switch sides. Okay, ankle behind the knee on the other leg. Again, I'm turning to where you can see me. And then just slowly acknowledge where you're at. Go from side to side, be very gentle. Don't be surprised if it feels completely different on this side. Okay, and then rock onto the hip of the bent leg and make some big circles. Switch directions. All right, come back through center. Lift your hips up, kick that leg all the way up and drop it down, okay? So from here, I'm gonna have you bring both feet out in front. Lift the flesh out of the way. Lift your hands up and start to push towards your legs as soon as you feel any type of leg holding or catch in your back. And again, hug your belly to your spine here. From here, push, and then just let your arms drop. Release the weight of your head and just get a big stretch on your low back, or all the way up the back. Good. Now sit back up. And then from here, let's move into, so I'm gonna put both hands on one side and roll my weight forward, right? I wanna lift up the top leg, bend at the knee, and drop my foot right in front. And now from here, I'm gonna walk my hands closer to my hip. What I'm trying to do is get a big side body stretch on the outside of the hips here. So I'm gonna roll forward and back, placing that back leg a little further towards the side of my foot touching the ground, keeping that foot flexed. Okay, to transition from the other side, or to the other side, bend your elbows, lift up your back leg, right? You're lifting your hip up, but your leg is still straight. And from here, slide it underneath you and drop that foot down to the outside of the other hand. Okay, from here, bend your knees, lift the back leg up, start to straighten it as you take it behind the front foot, and then slide that foot down as you lower your hip down. Walk your hands back, roll your hip forward and back, roll your hip forward and back. Okay, now we're gonna go through like a flow between the two. So to move out of this, shift your weight into your arms, lift the hips up, slide that leg, drop the foot down to the outside pinky side edge of the hand, lift the other side up, start to straighten the leg, drop the hip down. One breath, lean forward, lift the hip up, place the foot down, slide the other foot behind, drop the hip down, lean forward for a breath, lift the hip up, drag that leg to the other side, shift your weight down, back hip goes down, shift your weight forward, inhale up, step down, slide that foot behind, bring your hip down, rock forward, lift up, place the foot, switch sides. Good. Now keeping your hands where they're at right here, bend your knees and then take your toes out to a 45, take your elbows to the inside of your knees and just get a big stretch on the inner legs. Place your hands down, turn your heels to the outside, press head down and hips back. And then take big steps back with both feet. So from here, bring your hands directly underneath your shoulders, and then take one hand, drop it down directly in front of your face, turn in your lowest ribs, but keep your hips where they're at, and reach up. And drop that hand back down, switch it out with the other. Turn in the lowest ribs, keep your hips where they're at. Still trying to roll the inner thighs in and outer thighs out. Okay, drop that hand down too. And again, press head down, hips back. Release the weight and the pressure behind your neck and between your shoulder blades. Okay, from here, we're gonna move our weight to one leg, drop that knee down. You have active toes underneath you on this foot, right? Active toes here. So this next part, we're going to keep the leg that's bent right here whenever our hips are up. Whenever you move through, moving your body down and raising up, it's gonna go a little bit more straight, right? It's gonna be very bent whenever your hips are down. It's gonna be a little bit more towards straight when your hips are up, okay? So lower down, raise up, lower down, raise up, lower down, raise up, lower down. Drop this hand at like a 45-degree angle right here, right? So it's like a handprint all the way behind your body. And then press the foot and the hand all the way down in order to help you lift your hip up. Now when I'm in this position, this is going to start to straighten that front leg. Swing the top arm up and past your face. Look up, big stretch back. Okay, from here, lower your hip back down first. Swing the top arm past your face. Bottom arm follows all the way across. And you're gonna place your shoulder on the ground. And then you can look up. Press your arms away from each other and make sure that the hips are all the way up here. Okay, drop your hip back down onto your ankle. Bottom arm swings all the way back to behind the foot. Top arm swings up past the face to help you lift your hips up. Drop the hip back down. Top arm swings past your face. Bottom arm follows. Shoulder goes down. Arms push away from each other. Make sure that your hips are all the way up. Now notice that my knee is on the outside of my shoulder. You'll feel some extra space between your ribs here. Now lower your hip back down to your ankle. Bring that bottom arm all the way behind the foot. Switch out your ankles. Okay, so moving on to the other side. You got one leg out. Active toes behind you. Ready? Lower down, raise up. Lower down, raise up. Lower down, raise up. Lower down, raise up. Drop that hand behind your foot. Use it to help you lift your hips up. Take that top arm up and past your face. Good, drop your hip back down to your ankle. Top arm swings past your face. Bottom arm swings all the way around. Shoulder goes down. Press your hips up. Press your hands away from each other. Good, drop your hip back down to your ankle. Top arm swings past your face. Bottom arm goes all the way behind your foot. Lift your hips back up. Good. Drop your hips back down. Top arm swings past your face. Bottom arm swings all the way around. Shoulder goes down. Press your hands away from each other. Good, drop your hips back down. Bottom arm swings all the way back to behind the foot. Top arm swings up and past the face. Big stretch back, reach back. All right. So from here, I want you to notice that right now, you're in a 90-degree stance with your legs. If I were to stand all the way up, drag this back foot back here. Now I'm still in a 90-degree stance with my feet. And in Aikido, we call this Han-Mi. This is half stance. This movement back and forth, I'm shifting my weight. I'm aiming for ears over shoulders over hips. And as I shift my weight forward, this is a very positive movement forward, but it's not aggressive, right? But it's absolutely not passive either. I'm trying to take up as much space as I possibly can, and it's not just forward, it's also the push back. Because there are many that, like the idea of being very circular and being able to orbit the things that are around you with flexibility instead of one thing crashing into the other and taking over its space, right? This isn't a dominating type of thing. This is where you are negotiating space. You are allowing the variables that exist, the gravity, the space that you're working within right now. You're not having a partner to work with, so right now you're working with yourself. You got to find the softness, and you got to find where your limits of being able to keep yourself safe are. So as you shift your weight forward, right, and pivot to the other side, I want you to just gently raise your arms and let them swing a little bit, and then take your vision onto the field around you. So now we're going to move front foot parallel to the back, turn the other side out, take your vision with that movement, right? We're going to just call it a pivot. So then turn that foot in, turn your vision in the front foot the same direction. Now raise your arms to the side. See how much your peripheral vision, you can roughly see about from here to here, right? Now if I take that pivot with my arms out, pivot all the way through, all the way through. This is even exaggerating that pivot just a little bit more. This is the closest that I'm going to have to 360 degrees of awareness, where I'm going to be able to know what's going on around me, which also means that everywhere, right, that my space right here is bigger than where my skin stops. It's also everywhere that I could possibly reach in this range of motion. And once my vision goes up and I'm taking in all of the information around me, I also have to choose how I'm going to enter into that space between me, the furniture, me, the tree, me, another person, whether it's, pets, family members, any other variables, and the training behind that, doing it in a safer condition, right, or in a setting where you understand the variables. You're preparing your mind for the what-if situation. If you had to learn how to keep your vision up because you can see something moving in your field here, but you have a pivot so that you can change your direction, and now you can decide whether you're going to move around that thing, whatever it is, right? It could be somebody else walking down the lane in a grocery store, but you need to figure out how both of you are going to negotiate that space, right? So the idea with that is timing. So if I'm going to shift my weight and my vision as if something is moving into my space, it's moving into my space, into my space. I have a choice whether or not I stand there and freeze up and let it just run into me. If I decide that I want to move forward, I can shift my whole body off of this center line here, forward and offline, right? The idea with that is that I'm moving as whatever this is coming past and coming towards me. I'm moving right next to it, right? So the idea with that is that in Aikido, right, there's entering, where you're going to go right past whatever it is that's coming towards you, but in very, very close proximity. And then there's other invitational, right, movements where something might be coming towards you, but you step offline and let it slide right past you. But ultimately, you have to get your body offline, right? And we'll add those pieces on later. But right now, the first position, I'm going to give it to you as in every single other thing that we've done today in this practice has been you showing up for yourself, right? Taking step one. That is still considered irimi as far as I'm concerned. You took the step to make the move into making the decision to show up for your own practice. So that being said, just bring your feet together, your knees together, make some big circles, just go really slow. I want you to just take a second to thank yourself for showing up for the practice. Bend your knees, hug them in. Okay, drop all the way down with this feet flat, hands on knees, back straight, face forward. That is, we call that seiza in Aikido. And so because some of these practices are from yoga, some of them are from Aikido, we're going to do the double bow out. And the idea here is not only saying thank you, right, to those that we've shared this space with, but also to the information, to the lineage, to our teachers, to everybody that's helped fill the training path for all of us, right? Because all of this information was nothing that I invented. This is a combination of all the teachers and then the way that it went through my filter, and then the same thing's gonna happen through your filter. So thank you for taking the time, for adding your piece into the lineage and continuing to take the work into your day, and I will see you next time. どうもありがとうございました。